During our Farm Basics time today, we're going to talk about a phenomenon that happens not every single year in every area of the country, but it does happen quite often. We see what we would call yellow tops in corn plants.
Well, this leads to so many questions because if a whole field lights up, well, then it's pretty easy to say, wow, what's going on with that field? But when we see one plant here and then 99 plants that look great and then one more plant that's yellow, it's like, why is the top of this plant yellow and not the 100 plants around it? It is kind of puzzling.
So what some people will say is, oh, it's fast growth syndrome in corn. Well, let me just tell you this, there's no such thing. There's not a fast growth syndrome in corn, but there is such a thing as a nutrient deficiency. And this is typically what we're seeing. So what we encourage you to do, if you have this problem in your operation, we want you to go out and do plant tissue analysis on those plants that have yellow tops, and then take the very best plants in your field and maybe sample some of those separately. What you're most likely going to find is it's a zinc deficiency, a sulfur deficiency, maybe a manganese deficiency. It's one of those micronutrients, or like sulfur, a secondary nutrient, where it's non-mobile in the plant. So if the plant is at a rapid growth stage and it doesn't have enough nutrients it's pulling out with its roots, it can't rob it from some other area of the plant like it can with NP or K. It just is going to be short for a while, and your plant's going to be yellow for a while.
Well, sometimes I'll have farmers say, what is this yellow top syndrome going on? And I say, well, hey, did you happen to notice the yellow bottom syndrome? And they'll say, what are you talking about, yellow bottom syndrome? I'll say, exactly. The only reason that people are really talking about this and noticing it is it's at the top of the plant. If we had a nutrient deficiency happening at the bottom of the plant and it was happening one every so many plants, well, nobody would notice because it's at the bottom of the plant. We can't see it from the end of the field. We can't see it from the road. Walk your fields this summer. Even your fields that look great. Look at the lower leaves on the plant as well. Chances are you're going to see some potassium deficiency, some nitrogen deficiency, or some other problem at the bottom of the plant too, happening on one plant, then not for a few other plants, and then again.
Okay, so the real question is, why is this happening to 1 out of 100 plants or 1 out of 20 plants? Well, part of it is just the fact that, especially when we talk about micronutrients like zinc and boron and manganese, all these different micronutrients, how much are you putting across an entire acre? Not very much. So if, let's say, you were doing it with dry, or for that matter even liquid, are you properly getting that coverage that you should have? I mean, is really every single root of every single plant going to absorb some zinc or some boron or some manganese or some sulfur? Probably not. So that's a big thing. The other thing is, just like, for example, Darren and I are brothers, we look a little bit different, don't we? So we probably absorb nutrients a little bit different. The same thing's going to happen to your corn plants out there. We just call corn corn, but you know what? Even the same variety, it has the same parents, but not every single plant is exactly the same.
The other thing that I would point out is this. A lot of times our plants are short of nutrients way before they start showing the symptomology on the leaves. So one plant may be already showing the symptoms on the leaves. The plant right next to it may be just about as short in that nutrient as the one that's showing it. So don't just assume, well, there's only 1 out of 100 plants that's struggling, so I don't need to worry about it in my field. No, chances are out of those 100 plants, there's probably 90 of them that are struggling. Just one of them happens to be showing it externally.
The number one thing we want you to understand about this is there is no such thing as fast growth syndrome in corn, and don't let people tell you, oh, it's just going to grow out of it on its own. Yeah, it will, but in the meantime, you've already lost yield. Figure out what the real problem is with tissue analysis, and then make some changes to your fertility program next year so you don't see this happening again in the future and hurting your yield.
One other thing we don't want to see out in your fields is our weed of the week. Can you identify this week's weed?